Officer Jack Lawson was only a few months into his new job when the call came in. 911, what's your emergency? The dispatcher's voice was calm, but the woman on the other end of the line wasn't. My daughter's missing, she sobbed. She was supposed to be home hours ago. Please, you have to help me. Jack's partner, Officer Terry Briggs, glanced at him as the radio crackled with the details. 9-year-old female, last seen at the park 3 hours ago. Possible abduction. Jack felt his gut twist. He'd handled noise complaints, minor thefts, routine calls. But this was different. He gripped the wheel tightly, the sirens wailing as they sped through the dark streets. This one's probably a runaway, Terry muttered, rubbing his tired eyes. We'll ask around, check the usual spots. But Jack wasn't so sure. The park was empty when they arrived, the swings creaking in the cold night breeze. A handful of officers were already questioning the girl's mother, who stood clutching a pink backpack with trembling hands. Jack approached her slowly. Ma'am, I'm Officer Lawson. Can you tell me what happened? The woman wiped her tears. She was just playing. She always comes home before dark, but tonight, her voice broke. I called, I searched everywhere, and then I found this. She held out a crumpled note, scrawled in messy handwriting. Don't look, she's ours now. Jack swallowed hard. This wasn't a runaway. This was something much, much worse. Hours passed and leads were thin. The other officers began to speculate. Maybe she was with a friend, maybe she got lost. But Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister was at play. He took a slow walk around the park, shining his flashlight under benches, near bushes, anywhere a child might hide. That's when he saw it, small footprints leading toward the trees. Following the trail, his heart pounded. He reached a small, worn-down shed tucked behind overgrown brush. The door was slightly ajar, creaking in the wind. Jack hesitated, radioing it in. Found something near the park, investigating now. Hold tight, Lawson, came the reply. Backup's on the way. But then, he heard it. A muffled whimper from inside. His pulse skyrocketed. He couldn't wait. Hand on his weapon, he pushed the door open. Inside, the air was damp and suffocating. A dim, flickering bulb cast eerie shadows on the peeling walls. And there she was. The missing girl, curled up in the corner, eyes wide with terror. Jack rushed forward, kneeling beside her. Hey, sweetheart, you're safe now. But before she could respond, a noise behind him made him freeze. A man stood in the doorway, his silhouette blocking the exit. Jack's hand instinctively went to his gun, but the man just smiled. You shouldn't be here, he said, his voice cold, calculated. Jack's grip tightened. Step back, now. The man's smirk didn't falter. You have no idea what you're getting yourself into. The backup arrived minutes later, finding Jack leading the girl out of the shed, his jaw clenched tight, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The suspect had vanished into the woods. Terry clapped Jack on the back. Good job, rookie, you found her. Jack barely heard him. His eyes were fixed on the shed, on what could have happened if he hadn't gone in alone. Inside, they found more clues, photos of other children, a list of names. Jack's stomach churned. This wasn't just about one girl, there were more. The next few weeks were a blur of investigations. Leads turned up abandoned buildings, storage units, hidden rooms beneath houses, places no child should ever see. Jack worked tirelessly, pushing himself beyond exhaustion. Desperate to bring them all home, he learned quickly that for every child they rescued, there were more they couldn't. The ones who had been missing for too long, the ones who were never coming back. Late one night, after another long shift, Jack sat in his car outside his apartment, staring at the file in his lap. Photos of the children they had found, photos of the ones they hadn't. He felt the weight of it all pressing down on him, heavier than any gear he'd ever worn. His phone buzzed. A text from his captain. Good work tonight, Lawson. You made a difference. Jack stared at the message for a long time. Had he? The ones they saved would go home, but the missing faces haunted him. Months later, the girl he had rescued, Sophie, visited the station with her mother. She hugged him tight, whispering, "Thank you for finding me." Jack smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. He nodded. You're safe now, that's what matters. But deep down, he knew the job wasn't over. Because out there, in the shadows, there were more monsters, and Jack wasn't done hunting them down. The end. Let me know your thoughts.